Hey guys, it's Darwin here with my top 10 favorite pieces of backpacking gear from 2019. Yep, I'm still inside because it really hasn't improved since last week. Along with the snow and the wind and it being crazy cold, it started raining, so it's just a nasty wintry mix, and I really don't feel like getting out on the trail with my nice camera to sit in the rain. So hopefully next week this stuff will clear up. I can get back out in my natural habitat because filming inside is not really my forte. All right, I realize we still have 3 weeks left of 2019, but I don't plan on getting any new gear in those 3 weeks. So today I've compiled a list of my top 10 favorite pieces of gear from this year. Now, some of this gear is new, some of the gear I've had for quite some time, but all of it has been great for me this year for my thru hike of the Arizona Trail, my Scotland TGO Challenge, my mini thru hike of the Timberline Trail, a bunch of different bike packing trips, and some section hikes back out on the Arizona Trail. All of this gear has held tried and true, which is why it makes my list for 2019. Now, every year that I do one of these videos, there's always a shoe on my list, and this year is no exception. Number 10 is the Altra Timp 1.5. Now, I started out the year in the Olympus, coming off of the PCT and using it on the Arizona Trail, but this was a shoe that I always wanted to try, so I picked it up before going over to Scotland, and I fell in love with it. It has a really nice cushion and ride to it, that big ol' awesome toe box, and for the most part, the shoe holds up pretty great, so going forward, this has become my favorite hiking shoe, which is why it makes my list for 2019. Number 9 is a piece of gear that I actually picked up last year and then kind of put to the side and recently started using again, which is the Katadyn Be Free filter. So if you guys have been watching my channel for the last couple years, you'll know that typically I'm a big Sawyer fan. I've tried the Sawyer Squeeze, which is typically my go-to, the Sawyer Mini, which I don't really talk much about, and last year what made my list was the Sawyer Micro. Well, after getting it out on the Arizona Trail, it failed on me miserably, and come to think of it, every single Sawyer model I've ever used has eventually failed in one way or another. Well, this guy hasn't. I picked it up last year and hiked the last 500 miles of the PCT with it. I started using it again this year in Scotland, and I've been using it ever since and has yet to fail once on the trail. So because it's super lightweight, it hasn't failed me one time, it's really easy to clean in the backcountry, and it has the best flow rate of any filter I've ever used. The Katadyn Be Free makes my list this year. Number 8 is a piece of gear that I picked up back at PCT days in August, and I've been using it religiously on the trail ever since, and that is the Rawlogy Cork massage ball. So for the past 2 years, I've really been trying to step up my recovery game when it comes to the trail. I've suffered from a few injuries over my last couple hikes, and it's something that I'm trying to get under control. Well, with the help of this little guy, I can easily throw it inside of my pack, and at the end of a long day of hiking, I can get it out, I can roll my leg out, I can roll my shoulder out, I can roll my feet out, and help speed up recovery. It's made from 100% upcycled cork. It's super small, it only weighs 0.7 ounces, and I mean, again, it's small. I can easily throw it in my pack, and when I get to camp, there's no excuse not to grab it, not to do a little recovery, to make sure that I'm gonna make it to the end of my hike. So because this thing has definitely helped step up my recovery game, it makes my list for 2019. Number 7 is a piece of gear that's pretty new to me, but it helps solve a problem that I've had for the past 2 years, and that's looking for the perfect tent stake. And that would be the Easton Nano aluminum stake. So over the past 2 years, I have tried just about every stake on the market, from the old standard titanium shepherd hook stake that constantly bent on me and wouldn't hold in sandy ground, to the Zpacks sonic stake, which is basically a groundhog. I kept bending these, as you can see. I kept snapping the heads off of them, to the titanium V stake, which I have bent the crap out of these as well, and the stake that I started using a lot this year, which is a carbon core stake that Zpacks makes, which I broke a ton of these. I either snapped them or drove the little head up into the shaft. I have beat the crap out of stakes in the past 2 years, and this guy, to my surprise, has kind of fixed all of the problems that I've had with those other stakes. So about 2 months ago, I bought a new tent from Tarp tent, and they just sent these along for free with the tent. I kind of threw them to the side, didn't think much of them, and one day I took them out on an overnight and was pleasantly surprised by A, how good they held in the ground, B, that I cannot bend or break these things, and C, it only weighs 0.2 ounces, which is the exact same as the carbon core stake and the titanium shepherd hook stake. So because I'm pretty sure that I found my perfect stake and it's fixed a problem that I've had for 2 years, this makes my list for this year. Number 6 is a piece of gear that I picked up about halfway into my Arizona trail through hike, and that is the Waymark ZIPP fanny pack. So I have tried multiple different fanny packs over the years, and I was never really a big fan. They were all kind of boxy, they would bounce up and down when I was hiking and, didn't treat my groin area too well, so I wasn't a big fan. Well, when I was on the Arizona trail, I was needing a little bit of extra storage for an extra lens and my camera, so because I liked their packs so much, I decided to pick up one of Waymark's fanny packs, and I was pleasantly surprised by how much I actually liked this. I think why I like this over some of the other ones is because if you look at it, it has an ergonomical design, a V cut, so it tends to ride a little bit smoother on your waist. This one doesn't bounce up and down a lot. It's nice because it has this pouch in the back to put my phone in, plenty of room to put an extra lens and a certain camera if I want to use it, and just about anything else I need to quickly grab while I'm hiking throughout the day. So ever since I picked it up, I have used it on every hike that I've done as a fanny pack, and when I'm not hiking, I actually take it off and use it as, well, let's be fair, a purse. I sling it over my shoulder and use it when I'm in town. So because this thing has changed the way I feel about fanny packs, it makes my list of favorite gear for 2019. Number 5 is a piece of gear that I've actually had since 2017, and for some reason I've never done a gear review on it, and that's the Zpacks Vertice rain jacket. Now I've had a ton of different rain jackets over the years, and this guy is by far my favorite. Why is it my favorite? Well, number 1, it is super lightweight. The second reason it's my favorite is because it takes a really long time to wet out, and it's super breathable. So some of the rain jackets I've had in the past kind of feel like you're wearing a trash bag about halfway through your day of hiking. Not this one. It breathes really well. It has zipped pit vents, which is awesome because if I'm hiking and it's warm and it's still raining, I can get a little bit more ventilation. And the number 1 reason this has become my favorite jacket and why it makes my list this year is because of its fit. One issue that I've always had with jackets is I'm a taller guy and I need a longer cut. Well, Zpacks decided to make this a longer cut in the back, so when I'm wearing it, it doesn't ride up on me and my backside doesn't get wet when it's raining. This thing has been awesome for the past 2 years that I've used it, and it was especially awesome when I was over in Scotland for my TGO challenge. Because of all that, because it's my favorite rain jacket, and because for some reason I've never done a gear review of it, it makes my list of favorite gear for this year. Number 4 is a piece of gear that I've been getting a ton of questions about over the last couple months because people have seen it in my videos or seen it in some of my photos, and that is the PD capture clip. So this thing is the little thing that you always see on my shoulder strap that my camera is mounted to. Basically what it is, it's like a gun holster for your camera. So when you're hiking down the trail, your camera is strapped right up to your shoulder strap. When you're ready to take your shot, you can grab the camera, take the shot, slap it back on, and you're good to go. So I was searching for something to put my bigger camera that I recently upgraded to on the trail, and my fanny pack wasn't big enough for it. I didn't want to put it in my pack because I didn't want to have to stop every time I wanted to take a shot and get it out of my pack. So this thing really filled that need that I was looking for. So because of all that, the PD capture clip makes my list this year. Number 3 is a piece of gear that I picked up a few months ago, and I've basically been living in it ever since, and that's the Appalachian Gear Company alpaca hoodie. So if you've been watching my videos over the past couple months, you've probably seen this thing a bunch. And that's because I've been living in it for basically the last 3 months on trail and off trail. It is super comfortable. It keeps me warm on those chilly mornings on the trail. It's antimicrobial, so if I stink for a long time, which usually I do, it kind of helps cover that up a little bit. It's naturally wicking, which means if it gets wet, it dries out quick. And just like the jacket, it has a longer cut. So for me, it is so comfortable and feels so good when I'm wearing it on the trail. I've been searching quite some time for a good hoodie that wasn't too short, didn't ride up on me, had a great fit, was antimicrobial, and dried quickly. I found this guy out at PCT days. I've been in love with it ever since. So again, it makes my list for 2019. Number 2 is the Zpacks Hexamid Pocket Tarp with doors. For quite some time, I had been wanting a new tarp. Something that I could take out that was super lightweight, that was super minimal, that I could use when it wasn't really buggy, when it wasn't really harsh weather. And finally, Zpacks re-released an old classic that they've had for quite some time. I picked it up before going out to do the Timberline Trail. I've used it on a bunch of bike packing trips and a couple small section hikes back out on the Arizona Trail, and it is awesome. It has that bathtub. It has 2 doors, so I get a little bit of privacy. It uses 1 pole to set it up. It's crazy lightweight. And because I finally found my perfect minimalist shelter for those really lightweight hikes that I want to do, this guy makes my list for this year. Okay, so we've made it to my number 1 favorite piece of backpacking gear of 2019. And I think this one is gonna surprise a lot of people, and that is the Snow Peak 700 titanium mug. Nope, it's not a new piece of gear. It's not something that I picked up in the last couple years, the last few years. I've had this mug for about 6 years, and I've used it ever since my hike of the AT in 2015. Now, for the past couple years, I started cold soaking, and I didn't really use this much. But when I went over to Scotland back in May, I decided I wanted to switch things up and cook. So I reached for my trusty old Snow Peak 700, and it made me fall back in love with cooking on the trail. And I think why this is one of my favorite pieces of gear, why I still have it to this day, is because every time that I use it, it brings back tons of memories from every cup of coffee that I've drank, every meal that I've eaten on all the trails that I've done, from the AT to sections of the CDT to being out on the Arizona Trail, now Scotland. This thing brings back a lot of memories, and it's great. So because it made me love cooking on the trail again, because it constantly brings back all those memories from all of the miles that I've used it on the trail, the Snow Peak 700 titanium mug is my favorite piece of backpacking gear from 2019. All right, guys, so that concludes my list of favorite gear of 2019. Now remember, just because it's my favorite gear does not mean it's going to be your favorite gear, and it doesn't make it the best gear. It's all subjective. You should use what gear works best for you, what's tried and true, and never let you down every time you take it out on the trail. Now, speaking of favorite gear, what's some of your favorite gear from 2019? What's something that worked out great on a weekend backpacking trip, or a section hike, or even a thru hike? Leave me something down below and let me know your thoughts. If you found any value in this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.